Bridesmaids stars Kristen Wiig as the maid of honor at her best friend's wedding, which is being planned by a new friend that's encroaching on her best friend territory. Before being released, Bridesmaids is being hailed as the female hangover, and I can kind of see that, although it's a much safer version of the hangover. But the one thing that they do have in common is that they are side-splittingly hilarious. I could not stop laughing. I was literally hysterically laughing the whole movie. The acting is fantastic. Everyone is hysterical, which I'll get into that. The story, like I said, that's where it gets a little safe. It was very safe. It was like a much funnier rom-com kinda, your standard type of like chick flick, but much funnier. And actually, you know, I could really enjoy it and love it. It's not just for girls, although all girls, and I feel like all moms are gonna love it because they're gonna be like, oh, we were like that, like, even if they weren't. But it just feels like that because I went with my sister and we were both saying that like some parts reminded me of like something that like my mom and one of her best friends would do, you know, stuff like that. And the one major thing that I would like to point out is that almost every comedy has this slump in the last third of the movie, that it goes into this slump of realizing like, oh, we have to actually tell the story now, we have to cut the jokes, and it just isn't funny anymore. And then they try to be funny in the last few minutes, and I don't even think it's funny anymore. That always happens. This one, I literally turned to my sister and I was like, oh, here we go, this is the slump that always ruins every comedy. And it started to go down into the slump, and then whoop, right back up. It never hit the slump. Okay, a little bit. It hit the slump a little bit. But it came right back, and that happens very rarely, for me at least. I like, in my opinion, of course. I don't know, maybe it happens more often for other people. But I was very happy about that because I was worried, like, oh, this movie's been so funny, and now we're gonna lose it. But no, it didn't lose it, which is awesome. So like I said, the acting in this movie is fantastic. Of course, we've got Kristen Wiig as the leading lady, who is hysterical. She's very, very weird, but she is totally, she's committed to being weird, you know what I mean? She doesn't act weird and then tries to not be weird. She's just 100% into what she's doing, and that's fantastic, and I love it. We've got Rose Byrne, who I wasn't really a fan of in other films, but I thought she was pretty good in this. I still didn't think she was really amazing in this. I thought she was a little bit cheesy in a lot of spots, but she was good. And honestly, my favorite, even though, of course, there was a lot of other people that were great, but my favorite probably had to be Melissa McCarthy. She was brilliant. She was literally brilliant. She had the funniest parts, and the only thing is that, like, she had some of the cheesier parts in the movie, but she did them so well that it made it okay. Anyone else doing it, and it would have been like, alright, this is like the cheesy character that every movie has to have, but she did such a great job that I absolutely loved her. Some other people I didn't mention, I was just kind of getting to Melissa McCarthy. Maya Rudolph was great. I think she was pretty good. Also, Chris O'Dowd, who played Officer Rhodes. I have to say, I loved that they had the cop and Kristen Wiig, like, you know, that was kind of like a love interest situation. I thought that was kind of interesting and different because it was like, you know, he saw her drive by all the time because he was the cop, so that's like cool. Ellie Kemper and Wendy McClendon Covey, I think is her name, from Reno 911. They were pretty good too. They had some funny parts. They were kind of like together, I guess, like they were the pair in the movie. And the other fantastic pair in the movie was Matt Lucas and Jillian Bell. They played Kristen Wiig's roommates, their brother and sister, and they were only in it for a short time, but they were pitch perfect, literally pitch perfect. And I was cracking up during any time they were on screen. And lastly, in terms of acting, even though they're only cameos, I have to mention them because I was very excited to see these people in the movie. I was surprised. First of all, Tim Heidecker. I couldn't believe it. I was like, no. And if you know me at all, you know that I'm a huge fan of Tim and Eric, so that was really cool. Then we've got Mitch Silva, who was in the plane. He was a flight attendant, and you're probably thinking, I don't know who that is, but you do know who it is. It's David Blaine from Those Little Rabbits on YouTube, and I'm sure you've seen him, and I don't know if you know him outside of YouTube, but he's one of my favorite little kind of like just cameo actors. He does these little bit parts. The first thing that comes to mind always is he was in this hilarious episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, but he's hysterical. Even, honestly, I just laugh looking at him, but not in an offensive way, but just because I know that he has the potential to be hilarious, but I know he's holding back because it's not what is necessary for his roles in these little parts. So that just gets me, and I think he's great. And also Richard Riel, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he was the grandpa in Grounded for Life, and it's always nice to see him. He was in the movie for like literally like less than a minute, but I think he's great in general, so it's nice to see him. But yeah, I was surprised by all the cameos. That's really all I can remember off the top of my head, but I was surprised by all those cameos, and that added to it, to be honest with you. It was almost like little inside jokes like, I know him, and so that was cool. So like I said at the beginning of this review, it's being called The Female Hangover, but I think it's a little safe, and I definitely do think it's a little safe. It's like I said, the romantic comedy sort of chick flick version of The Hangover, not exactly the female version of The Hangover. It's not like a direct, mirror sort of, but this is definitely safer, although it was absolutely hysterical. Obviously, I loved it. I would see it again for sure. I would absolutely recommend it to everybody. I think it's going to be a huge hit, one of the best of the year that I've seen so far, at least. Let me know in the comments what you thought of Bridesmaids. Let me know if how you feel about the whole female hangover thing that it's being called. Let me know if you agree that it's a safer version or if you think it's pretty much on par, I guess. Let me know what you thought of the acting. Let me know who's your favorite. Like I said, Melissa McCarthy pretty much stole the show for me, I think. Let me know if you recognized any of the little cameos, I guess, if you can call them cameos, you know what I mean. Just let me know in general what you thought of Bridesmaids, and that's pretty much it.